Oh,
And I've used it before on a uni project, admittedly only at 1 frame per second because I have my limits for a 10-15 minute presentation that I had to animate because we couldn't get together to present it in person. So I just got audio clips from people and recorded the audio for everyone else who just vanished, and then did the
Right, okay.
presentation itself.
We're now officially streaming and post the YouTube link there. It's literally just
Oh, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that makes sense because they got YouTube.
We do have a YouTube, yeah.
I'm just an numpty.
Oh wait, it can capture my cursor. We don't want that. 1 second. Window capture. Do not capture my cursor, thank you. Much better. Alright, okay. I'll wait a few more minutes. He just sent me another message, so should be here any minute.
Yeah. I will mute myself and give Seb a ring because if he's dozing, he probably is going to want to be a part of this. So, back in a bit.
Oh wow, people have actually joined the stream. I'm shocked. Hey, you don't get to see anything for a little while. We're waiting for a couple more people to join.
All right. Can you all hear me?
Yep, yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, I'd just like to mention we are streaming this on YouTube, so just don't say anything too stupid.
Ah, thank you. I really appreciate the warning.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Alright, okay. I think we shall start then. Okay, so first and foremost, obviously, welcome our newest contributor on Kindness. He has over a decade of experience in C++ and knowledge in reverse engineering and networking, so he'll be a great addition to both the development and the reverse engineering
excellent.
efforts. I know. It was reverse engineering, I'm not making that up, am I?
So I did reverse engineering for quite a while. A lot of it was involved in like software protection and whatnot. You know, whenever I was making the metamorphic engine and things like that. But yeah, I have some decent experience with it.
Good.
Excellent.
That'll come in handy. We'll have more than one reverse engineer, so
would be
but
so nice.
if you look in the dev channel, look back a little bit, he pinged you just saying stuff about it.
Yes.
Yes. Just read through that when you get the chance.
Yep.
Right, okay, so the other thing was oh yes, reviewing contributors and mods. So obviously, when we started the project, or when I started the project with Cockrose, now left the project, we were in a pretty desperate position. And we cast the net fairly wide because, to be frank, we were desperate. And since then, we've gained a few developers with the necessary skills to bring us forward on the project. So we will have a bit more stringent requirements for new contributors, just like some examples of code they've written, or if it's reverse engineering related, just a few questions. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to ask them, but either Blipfer or Unkindness would be able to. Due to the nature of this being a non-profit project, I understand that you can't focus solely on it, and how much work you can put in is very limited. But this also means I can't be responsible for micromanaging the whole thing, as I also have responsibilities outside of it. So what I suggest is that you guys do some of your own research and post it in the dev channels to see what other people say. I also suggest that you make forks of the repositories and just mess around with it a little bit. Test anything that you think could be a good addition. I know it's the low-level network aspect of the mod that we need to work on right now, and that can be a daunting task. I understand that we're still waiting on the reverse engineering process, which limits what we can do at the moment. Hopefully these bottlenecks will be solved soon enough and we can really get stuck into the development. I'll also be taking a look at the moderators we've got on our Discord and just, because we don't have a lot of rule-breaking posts, so we probably don't need as many moderators as we currently do. I'm just looking at the stream chat. They're bullying me because I'm British.
Oh
British
god, they're a bit
accents.
screwed then because we're all
Yeah,
well,
about
many
half
of
the
us
project team's British. Sorry, mate. I'm excited for the mod, mate. There you go. That's what you wanted me to say. All right. The other thing. This is going to be a very boring meeting, I'm afraid. The other thing is HR/onboarding. When a user joins or leaves the project, there's a lot of work that needs to be done regarding, reviewing the person as they join, or adding and removing people from the repository and other sites like the Open Collective, where you can donate, opencollective.com/F4MP. So I'm going to create a role which will have the responsibility of just managing contributors and just dealing with that kind of thing. Positions to open to anyone, but I really do need someone to fill it, so I'll contact a few people privately about the position as well. It really won't be that much. It'll just be someone makes an application, you take a look at it and see if you think they'd be a good addition or not. That's about it.
Regardless, that will end up being discussed between everyone anyway, but
Yeah,
having
exactly.
someone who can
Just
specifically be called on to check up on skill set, that sort of thing, will certainly be useful. Anything that's domain specific will probably go to whoever is responsible for that, such as Blipvert if it's someone who's would be joining him on reverse engineering, because obviously we need to ask the person with the skill if the person applying has the skill
exactly.
they need.
So yeah. One of the other things I was going to say was last meeting. We spoke a little bit, or Casey spoke a little bit about choosing a deputy, just in case something were to happen with me and I became unavailable for a long period of time, or if I leave the project entirely, because currently I hold the accounts for basically everything related to the project, and if I were to leave, we've got the Open Collective, which would be locked out, we've got the YouTube channel, the GitHub organization as well, so I will be looking at maybe choosing a deputy who basically step up if I'm not around, or take up the project entirely. Honestly, I understand that that's a pretty big responsibility, so I'm only going to pick someone if they're willing to take charge in the event that I do leave. I'm not saying I am going to leave, quite far from it. I love doing this. I'm not leaving anytime soon unless I have to.
Fail safes within fail safes.
Exactly.
You never can predict what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, if I lose the
hell,
password
the
to my
entire
password manager.
planet got locked down pretty much out of nowhere. So
Exactly. So good contingency. The final thing which I was going to talk about today specifically was the CLA, or Contributor License Agreement. Basically, as this project becomes bigger, the legal requirements around it also become an issue. This project's open source, which creates a lot of code ownership grey areas. A CLA is a legal agreement which ensures that anything you contribute to the project is owned by the project. It exists mostly to protect the project from bad actors. For example, our current logo was created by Alan, who's no longer a member of the project. He could, if he wanted to, make us take down the logo and restrict us from using it. For example, I don't say he is, because he's a nice guy.
Yeah, just to make it clear, this is just an example. No ill will towards Alan.
Alan's a cool guy anyway. The CLA will just make sure that doesn't really happen. That's all I had to say today. As I said, it's fairly boring. The last 2 weeks have been fairly uneventful, as we haven't really got much done. But on kindness, you said you wanted to talk a little bit.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was actually about to ask if I could have the opportunity. All right, so several things. How many coders on this team, how many of them have been involved in larger projects before?
You probably have to ask a couple of them directly. I post that in the dev channel, but
So I am unfortunately a highly depressed student, so having not a great deal of experience in that regard, as much as I am very enthusiastic. I know
Man.
full well that I can't be relied on for the high level stuff, unfortunately.
Well, no. I mean,
Which is
dude.
why I'm mostly focused on doing the media production side of things and trying to help out in that capacity.
Yeah, he's done a lot of good stuff for us PR-wise and got us hooked up with Casey Seb stuff as well, so that's great from him.
Got the website up and running, so there was that at least.
Okay.
Blipfert, what about you?
Well, are you talking about open source projects or any kind of project?
Any sort, man.
I mean, sure. Professionally, I've done worked on large things. The other large open source project I'm involved in is, or at least I was for a while, was the Font Forge project, which is a large, depending on how you measure large, the number of people that are involved in it is large. I don't know that the code base is
Okay.
that
Well, I get you. So I'm pretty much just trying to figure out how many people have worked with a number of other developers before. Do they know kind of what to expect? Because Genetical and I were talking, and you know, I have a decent bit of experience in this area, and I think we can start making some really great headway really soon, actually. I just kind of want to know at what pace do we really need to move with everybody, right?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Off the top of my head, I think B3N or Ben has some experience working in a team, and Casey Seb runs his own web hosting company, but he's not a developer directly.
Well, he has done development, but that was on a CSGO cheat, so he may well be helpful on the launcher side of things, but probably less so on the network stack, at least slightly.
Actually, that is
he's more lower level C address management, and ironically, it's probably more helpful to you, Blipvert, if you can wrangle him into that and get him up to date on that side of the thing.
Yeah, no, I think
as he is, he's very much unconscious.
That actually reminded me of a point that I forgot to mention. Of course, is that recruitment is still a major issue. Obviously, we've been recruiting, but the lack of developers is probably what's causing us the biggest slowdown at the moment. It's just that we're just getting like one application like every 2 months or so, or that kind of thing, and that's one of the biggest issues. And we do get a couple of applications every so often from people who really do want to contribute to the project, but either lack the skill or don't really know what they're getting themselves into. And just finding those people with that really good skill set is difficult, you know, because usually people who are at that skill level either don't have the time to work on the project or just don't want to. So it's difficult, man.
Yeah, I understand, but I think so. From my position, I would always prefer somebody who doesn't currently have the skills but is enthusiastic, rather than people who have the skills but kind of meh about it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And really quick, Blipvert, regarding the reverse engineering, have you considered using anything? Maybe like an emulator or a hypervisor to help with some of the process?
You there, man?
Could you be more specific about how that would work? I mean, I can run the game under a debugger. If that's, I mean, what would a hypervisor get me more
So-
than
Okay, so essentially, if so I know with some, so for example, with modifying some games, game hacks, etc. However, we have to go about this. Sometimes emulation or using a hypervisor could really help to kind of help find the different functions and get an idea of what's happening, especially since you can attach a debugger. Try to find a function that's happening at a certain point, for whatever we need. I don't currently know enough to know what is currently being reverse engineered and what needs to be or what's left and all that. But there have been some times in the past where emulators and hypervisors have helped move things quite a bit faster. But I don't know if that, would apply here or not, which is why I was asking.
do you have any suggestions for what you would use as a hypervisor or an emulator for this project?
So I have some code that I can dig up and take a look at it. So I've used some things like Unicorn before, which is essentially a software CPU, and it can help quite a bit with finding out any information we need.
I think the main distinction here would be that, well, essentially the primary use for a hypervisor is that you can isolate things a lot more specifically and access protected memory. But I don't think Fallout 4 necessarily makes use of that over much, given that it is already a heavily moddable framework. I think most of the memory is accessible, but
Yeah.
Kind of.
Okay.
The only situation where I could see something like that being useful is the fact that it's very difficult to run multiple copies of the game on a single machine, and the game wants exclusive or near exclusive access to your video memory. So if you wanted to debug a multiple player situation, it would be difficult to do that on a single machine, and something like VirtualBox or VMware isn't really powerful enough graphically to be able to run.
realistically, for something like that, you'd probably need a Zen box with multiple GPUs that are readily accessible, because unfortunately, when it comes to Windows emulation, if you don't have direct PCIe pass-through, good luck running anything at more than a fraction of a frame per second.
Right. Even if you wanted to do it in a very low res way, just to debug game events, I think that I've never been able to do it with a traditional VM. I don't know if there are hacks that can make that possible. But
if you're used to simple GUI client type systems, then yeah, there's not a lot of option there. You pretty much have to get into server architecture in order to do that, because again, you're talking about virtualizing across multiple graphics cards and dedicating enough RAM for each instance of the game, because the game likes to hog as much memory as possible.
Right.
So if we were doing 3, this would be no problem on even a normal system, but 16 gigs split across 2 VMs, allowing for the hypervisor and debugging client and everything else, you're really needing closer to 32 gig to do that comfortably. You can do it on 16, but 4 may not be especially happy with it. Mostly because, as I said, it likes to hog whatever it can.
Okay.
And kindness, out of interest, why did you bring up the hypervisor thing?
Because they've been useful in other situations with reverse engineering, but they weren't really game related, which is why I wasn't really sure. So I'm just kind of trying to think of any way that could help speed up the process, possibly.
There's also the issue, of course, of Steam, and maybe running instances of the game would also involve Steam being installed, and you may only be able to run Fallout once across one account, for example. There's that as well.
I don't think that should be too much issue, given that I'm pretty sure everyone here owns a copy of the game.
No, yeah, no, I mean, like, if you wanted to run the same Fallout
Yeah.
twice
Yeah.
across the same Steam account, you'd probably run into an issue. But yeah, everyone
so
owns
if you're
Fallout.
doing. I was saying we were considering using Steam ID for identification, weren't we? So realistically, if you're doing a
Yeah.
multiplayer scenario, then in order to test that correctly, you'd need to do that. Although being able to do that would be an interesting scenario as far as crash testing, because of course if the same player tries to connect twice, then you've got a bit of a problem on your hands. But
Yeah.
you can emulate that by just disabling the check that stops them sending the request multiple times.
Yeah, true. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, the thing about Steam IDs, right? So verifying a Steam ID is more difficult than you think. If you go onto the GitHub, which I'll just send you the link in the channel. 1 second, let me find it first. Here it is. Okay, let me just copy the link and post it in the meeting channel. So, basically, if we're going to go through Steam ID and do user authentication and identify users on different sessions and so on, we're going to need some level of some kind of central authority server, because we can't use Steam's own. So if you look at the link I just posted, you can see a Django web server written in Python that one of my friends made for us, which would let you log in with Steam, and then it would return a token which you could use to then verify your identity with servers. So you'd give the token to the server would give it to the CA, and the CA would say, yeah, this is a valid token, with some extra magic to stop the server from being able to just steal the token and verify as that user as a client, for example. So we can use Steam IDs, but it would just require this extra kind of middle step.
Where did you post it? I'm sorry, I'm looking for it.
In the meeting channel, I could put.
Ah, okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cloud service. All right.
I can. Yeah, I think that may be something we want to avoid necessitating.
I think it's
simply
almost
because
certainly going to be necessary, though.
yes, given that there probably won't be other authentication methods, at least to start with. You don't want some rando just joining your system if you've got open ports.
Yeah, it's more like someone pretending to be another user, and you've got no way to verify if it's them or not. They could just give whoever's Steam ID they like, and that would solve this issue.
There is a much easier way. We could use hardware information.
Yeah, hardware IDs, but what if someone wanted to play from a different computer?
Or the second you change anything about the system,
Yeah,
that hardware ID changes, and I've seen that not be especially reliable.
I think
there's the basic privacy concern there, because that starts getting into more serious data leakage.
I think
areas.
tracking hardware IDs is fine, but
Yeah,
I don't think it would be a good solution in the long term.
So pretty much every software protection solution uses that, right? Any that doesn't is kind of not worth anything, unfortunately. And there are ways to make it so that one thing, so you can make it so that the CPU can be changed once, right? Or, the amount of memory, or the hardware, the hard drive, right? Or whatever. There's different ways to go about it. Now, I guess what we could do is, we could have it so that anybody that uses it, we just say, if you have multiple computers you want to use it on, just register it, and we can easily have a database that just holds it. And whenever that person tries to log in, it checks, okay, is this the same hardware ID that's been verified, or has there only been one change? So long as, not everything has changed or what have you.
Yeah, I still think we'd run
a
into the
couple
issue
of
of, though, that I think that's a fairly unwieldy solution, because Steam does support OpenID, so we can have them log in with Steam and use that to verify it, and then it's done, basically, it's finished. The code works. All you'd need is the launcher to read the response from the server to store the token locally, and that would be it. It's done. I only
Okay.
mentioned it because whoever it was talking about using Steam IDs to identify.
Yeah, me. The main thing on that is, in general, the entire system is this is disgusting. Basically, fall under, in my mind, that of pretty much a DRM scheme, which I'm not the biggest fan of. So, in my mind, if we can do this without requiring any additional service to be provided by us on top of just you have your local system, that, like, even if we're doing hardware keys, we can make it so that it's just a white list on the server with no other necessary calls external.
Well, I mean, if you want to do
They
that,
can
you could do
share
it
along a
with,
hash
like,
key.
IP
I
addresses or
think
something.
that would be
MAC
both
address.
more
Yeah.
secure and just generally.
But then again, people can just
Let's
spoof
deal
that. They
with.
can send whatever they like to the server, can't they? They can
Yeah.
just say,
but
"Oh, I have this hardware ID" or whatever.
well, it's
The
not
code's
hard
open
to do
source.
basic cryptographic challenges to go like, "Hey, are you this person?" Like basic key systems, and
Yeah,
then
yes.
if a new one tries to connect, you can literally just say yes or no. Like it can even live prompt if you're wanting it to have maximum uptime.
I think that's going to
Rather
be the
than
best way to go about it.
Yeah, just simple key authentication, like with most things, doesn't require an external service. And even if we're using Steam to verify, that can be done entirely in the launcher locally, so that it's never reaching out to any external system, because that adds a lot of complexity and a lot of liability on us, as well
Yep.
as just basic other security concerns. If the only thing it's ever connecting to is Steam's own services with our API key, at most we might get yelled at for it being spammed. But given that there's only like 1,000 people on the Discord, I don't think we'd hit any given API limit.
1,000 people on the Discord. There's like 4,000 people on it.
Oh, last time I checked, but even so.
Well, I also, once this really gets going, you guys might be underestimating the number of people that want to use this.
Oh yeah, gotcha. No, I expect if we actually do this well, we'll have.
You mean when?
Yeah, when? Yeah, when. I meant that. I expect that almost everyone who owns a PC copy of Fallout will try it at some point. Because
Oh yeah.
it's not
well,
like
probably
some
about 30%
of the people who
lot of
still
people
play it,
will,
but
yeah.
even the people who maybe don't play it that often might come back to it and think, oh yeah, I can finally play a game I enjoyed, and say, oh wow, this is actually
Or
a pretty
even
good experience.
this game was
come
shit,
back to
but
it.
maybe it will be fun with multiple people.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
take a look. Take a look at bloody Gary's mod, which is what we're kind of using as our what's the
Model.
term? Model for a server, just like a vanilla Gary's mod server. That how many players does Gary's mod get? If there's some kind of, if we create a cult following of like like the equivalent of Dark RP in Fallout, which could certainly exist. I mean, it's an RPG game. You might expect thousands of people using it. So I don't think we should set our sights low when it comes to how many people would use it. But
So
I don't actually think that We need an API key for OpenID. Let me just have a look.
Which, by the way, I know quite a few people that don't really play Fallout 4 anymore. But if they could play with others, especially with mods, like you and I discussed, Genetical,
Yeah.
like, man, I've talked to some people recently about that, and they were like, oh my, God, yes, like the second that's possible, tell me,
No,
I mean,
fair
people
enough.
think of all the people playing Fallout 76. All they wanted was Fallout 4, essentially, with the stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, yeah, no, sorry, the Steam key is used, but it's fine. The Steam key is, like, I mean, if I really wanted to, I could just generate a new
Yeah.
one, but we're
Yeah,
not
so also
violating
if
any
we
Steam terms
get
of
to-
service by using it, and
Yeah,
there's...
so if we get to a scale where it starts becoming an issue or a bottleneck, we can even just directly reach out to Valve about that, as well as probably once we're getting to that stage, we're going to have to be speaking to Bethesda.
I doubt Bethesda would even consider talking to us. Even
Given
though they've been acquired by
how
Microsoft, I
mods-
doubt it.
no,
God
given
Howard
how the
can-
modding scene has gone with the Fallout and Skyrim series, I'm pretty sure that if we get to a scale where we're worrying about API key usage or
Yeah.
overuse, then we're probably going to at least be on their radar enough to get an email
I think
reply.
we'll probably get cease and desists before we get rate limiting
Oh.
issues. From
That's
Valve.
also possible,
Not
given
Valve.
the
The other
Bethesda.
guys.
Yeah.
But look,
Microsoft's pretty chill.
yeah, no, it's not
is-
Microsoft I have an
it's
issue
still
with.
the
It's
same people in charge, and
it's still the same people in charge. They've just got
yeah, people
Daddy
also-
Gates at the top now, so
Mm.
nothing's really
yeah,
changed.
people do seem to keep forgetting as well that ZeniMax isn't technically gone. They were bought out. They
Yeah.
were absorbed. There's still all of ZeniMax's shitty managers there, to my knowledge. They haven't been phased out as yet.
That is a non-official opinion of the Fallout 4 multiplayer project.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Personal opinion.
All opinions stated here do not represent that of this mod.
I think Bethesda will care if we do actually create something rather big, because obviously they're going to see
So
it as
they
probably...
cared when
I mean,
other
this is
big
like...
mods became a thing.
Yeah,
So
I mean...
I can see that going somewhere in terms of at least getting some communication going. Probably not ever getting like access to their Steam API key or anything.
Oh
that
god,
would
no,
actually
that's
work
never going
with
to
that.
happen.
Yeah, no, I don't
I-
mean like in that capacity,
When
but
you
being able to get our own Steam page would be a miracle.
It's happened
when you
before.
see how much Bethesda have been pimping sim settlements too, and this
True.
would be,
True.
I mean, they if it really took off, they would definitely notice. And
Plus,
When-
if it's a team of modders making it, no one can complain about all the bugs. So, oh, we made Fallout 76 by a AAA game company, and it's full of bugs. Or, oh, a 12-man dev team made it. What do you expect from us? And who cares that we paid them $30,000 to make it?
Mhm.
God. Anyway, we've got a bit off topic here. Was there anything else?
Oh, that is an interesting question, though. As much as it probably won't matter until years down the line, if Bethesda did actually get interested and did the whole same thing they did with the Creation Club of approaching us as mod developers, can we get an official statement on our position on that?
Well, I mean, I'm open to negotiation. Certainly, I'm certainly open to it, but
Well, in the capacity of getting additional funding and more direct payment.
well,
for
yeah, I mean, man, we get what,
to
how much
maintain it?
money do we get a month at the moment? This is from donations. We get $40 a month. So, yeah,
Big
money.
ballin'.
Not enough to cover.
Yeah, that's really not enough to cover except minimal things. I mean, we're lucky that so many companies just go, oh, you're an open source project, here's all this stuff for free. I mean, we've got Gitbook for free, we've got GitHub organizations for free, we've got a couple of other things for free. So plus, thanks to Casey Seb, we've got dedicated emails for free, which is great. That's very nice. So yeah, I'm open to the concept of it, and it's certainly not something I'm going to shut out entirely, but I'm certainly
I
not.
think the main thought for me was just there's a very I don't know whether to say large, but at least a general acceptance in the community of paid mods bad, anything Bethesda's money touches is evil.
I'm not too sure about paid mods, that concept, you know. I mean, that's pushing it into a territory that I'm less comfortable with.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Which-
sort of what I'm saying. So I don't think this is a mod that would ever go behind a paywall, particularly because it's already open source, so there's no point.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
I don't.
Now,
Yeah.
I mean, there are other things though, right? Like once it's going, you know, Genetical, the stuff we talked about, man, having it so that we have private servers that people have
Yeah,
to
no,
donate
that'd be
money
great.
to get to. Like, I mean, can you imagine, you know, people being able to play Fallout 4 with friends with like Sims Conqueror
Yeah,
and all that? You
that'd be
know,
good. That's what I see as an end goal for this project, is that people can just hop on a server and play with their friends and play with basically any mod they like, which is why there's been very little progress at the moment, because we really want to focus on making sure that the base code we write just supports as much as possible, because I don't want to be writing dedicated compatibility patches for every single mod under the sun. I want it to just work, you know, and obviously that's wishful thinking. There's going to have to be some work that goes into making mods compatible, but the little the better, honestly.
I mean, so again, brother, if you just write that list of the things that you want in that first release, and you know, if you can write out the list of all the features you want in it over time, and then select what you feel is the minimal amount for the initial release, and you know, and then after that, you know, we can plan it in stages. I mean, that's going to be how we start really making progress. But until we have a clear goal, things are going to flounder a bit, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I
Certainly
think the main issue is
lack of contributors is the main issue.
Well, yes, but in terms of looking ahead, it's a bit hard to lay out the foundation for how we want things to be structured until we know like the reverse engineering, what we can hook into and what we have to emulate from scratch. Because if we couldn't get NPC positions, like unnamed NPC positions, for example, I remember that even the current 0.2 version of the mod doesn't
support that. Yeah.
If we couldn't hook that, we'd then have to manually synchronize that, or just give up on that entirely.
Major issue. That would be.
Yeah, that would involve basically disabling all NPC generation and having to manually spawn everything and track them.
Let's hope it doesn't get to that.
Which would be a
Regarding
nightmare.
the reverse engineering thing, I'm considering speaking to a couple of Discords and just go, hey, look, this is who we are. We're desperate need of reverse engineers. Could you just like make a post on announcement saying there's this project and they need reverse engineers? That'd be nice, because you know we've got 2 reverse engineers now, which will help speed it up. And you two should talk at some point about Blitvote should get Unguidedness just up to speed about where you are and all that.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay, we're reaching the end of the allotted time. So, is there anything else anyone wanted to talk about?
We do have one YouTube comment asking about the player sync. I think given that we're basically rewriting things from scratch, it's probably worth instead going over what the current state is as far as 0.2 in dev is, like
Okay,
the working version of the mod.
All right, so
So I'm not as familiar with that, so if you guys want to go ahead.
Basically the original version, which is the one that anyone has played, was written entirely by the original developer, who's now no longer with the project, and the way some things were implemented wouldn't scale very well. So I took the decision that we should instead rewrite what we've got from the ground up, which, using the original code as a reference, shouldn't be too hard, but it's just making those preliminary decisions like what networking library shall we use, and we only decided on that 2 weeks ago, where we decided on using ASIO as our language, which you can see if you go on the F4MP server repository and change branch to feature/ASIO, which I shall post.
Which, yeah. So I've done some work with that, and again, I have pre-existing code to handle, the networking in pretty much any way that we need. That'll handle individual sessions and things of that nature. So since I already have some of the pre-existing code, I mean, if you want to stick with ASIO, that is fine. But we also do have the option of the IOCP if wanted, right? So again, I just kind of want to throw that out there.
Yeah, well, I'm more than happy to consider other things if you just let me have a look. The one concern I have, though, is any previous code. Did you write it for like a company or something? So is it actually yours? Like
It's
it
mine.
belongs to you, right? Okay, that's fine then.
Yeah. I own my own businesses, so it makes it easier for me.
All right. Okay. Well, yeah. Send it to me, and I'll have a look. Obviously, the networking is the painful bit. The networking is almost the entire server, minus any simulation. So, as long as it's performance minded and fairly asynchronous, I'm sure we won't have an issue.
Okay. So the thing about IOCP is it's considered the fastest way to, essentially do anything with networking, because generally you have it so for every CPU you have 2 worker threads, and those worker threads wait until they get, essentially a signal or flag saying, hey, there's something that you need to do, and it splits it up so that you keep that consistent number of threads, and you don't have any of those threads constantly iterating or anything of that nature. It's extremely performance conscious. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, it is considered the best method the best performance possible with any general structure.
All right. Well, that's certainly something we can consider then. I actually, instead of DMing it to me, just post it in the dev channel so we can all take a look.
Are you talking about Windows input-output completion ports?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I guess the only comment I would have about that is I think that's a Windows-only solution, which would tie us to having the server be a Windows box. Is that true?
Yeah, actually, but I didn't know that we were considering having it run on Linux. Okay, well, if that's the case, then yes, we need to use ASIO.
Yes, the server itself we want to have be flexible because the cost of a
Windows server
is heinous. And just getting one that can be used generally is almost non-existent. You pretty much have to get game-specific servers.
Yeah.
Then we'd need to get adoption from other companies, and that would be a lot more work than just allowing people to get a $12 a month box.
Yeah, exactly.
That will just run everything they need and then some.
Plus, it's fairly the standard these days to use Linux as the server. Obviously not 100%, but yeah, I think
It's a lot easier and a lot better supported. If
yeah.
nothing.
Plus, the kind of format I'm going for is one of it's a dedicated server, so it's entirely separate from the client in the sense that it can be run on any system without for necessarily having to be installed. So, it being cross-platforms fairly important. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. Sorry, I should have mentioned that to you, but I just you joined like 2 days ago, and I haven't got you up to speed just yet, so I haven't had the chance.
So I didn't realize that was a platform-specific thing, or I would have brought it up immediately. Just
Yeah.
Well, either
Better
way,
it
it's
came
not a
up
big
on
deal.
stream, so everyone's aware.
Well, right. So yeah, the ASIO stuff I will certainly dig up. I imagine we're using TCP, right?
I suggest
Realistically, yes.
Okay. I mean,
let me just have a look at that myself. I'm not 100% sure about that.
If we have, well, we would be using TCP because UDM isn't well suited for when we're maintaining synchronization over a lot of devices. Even if you've only got 4 players connected, that's not going to be as reliable.
Yeah, no, it's using TCP.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, UDP is much faster. I'm sure, as you guys
I'm
know.
aware of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we use 2? I know UDP doesn't actually have a connection, but can we use 2? So TCP for anything that needs to be reliable, and UDP for anything else.
Yes, we could absolutely.
Yeah. Why don't we just do that then?
Okay, and also
you can sort of, as I recall, you can sort of cheat by having
yeah, you can make reliable UDP,
to
but
verify UDP.
Yeah, but that's
but only in like larger.
That-
That's mainly useful if you're syncing the entire world state and you're just sending a large block of data. It's like, here
Yeah.
is everything.
right,
Deal with it individually.
right. Okay, but yeah, I mean, we can definitely mix it because the code I have handles both.
Yeah.
So
I would like to
Okay.
mention that any code that's on the repositories, you can change as you like. Just what currently happened right now is we actually chose I almost get confused with eNet. I mean ASIO. Do not use eNet, Jesus. Christ.
There's a reason
eNet, funny
that was
enough,
made.
eNet was actually the thing we used originally. On top of librg, which is what we were using for game tracking and all sorts of stuff, but I'm not doing that anymore because it's entirely written in C and painful to use.
yeah.
So basically, we used ASIO because of a YouTuber called Javadex. He made a series on he's basically making a library which
It's specifically for
this kind of game, and the code he'd written was essentially exactly what we need. So if you actually take a look at the repository, it's basically me just copy pasting it in.
at least
Okay.
to start with.
Honestly, it's only half of it, so feel free to remove it all and write your own implementation. I would purely put it there as a kind of template for us to work on. It uses a library which he kind of made called OLCnet, which is entirely unfinished, but genuinely works pretty well, and the code is
Well,
elegant and nice to read. So
well, you know what? Let me find that code and go through it again. It's been a little while since I've looked through it.
just make sure you're looking at the right one.
Oh, no,
I'll also say, just remembered, we're using ASIO standalone
not
rather
Boost.
than Boost, just so that we have minimum dependencies.
Yeah, I'm a bit Boost averse.
It's a good thing to be.
But yeah, take a look at it. Take a look at the code.
Okay, well, and I was also talking about my networking code because it's all self-contained. It just uses ASIO. We wouldn't have to use anything that's incomplete and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I'm more than happy to do that. We can remove it. Are you on the repository now?
Yeah, you invited me and I accepted it.
All right, feel free
Yeah.
to change the feature as you branch to your needs. We're using CMake, but it should work in Visual Studio as well. So
Yeah.
it should be
So
fine.
I just use Visual Studio. Do you? I mean, huh? Okay. Tell you what, we'll discuss that later.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what I
Yeah,
but
we've run over a bit.
CMake compatible is preferred simply so that anyone who's doing dev work on Linux,
Yep. Or if they don't
particularly for
like
the
Visual
server, is
Studio.
going to
right.
be able to still use the code. Because
Yeah.
Visual Studio does a lot of shenanigans on the back end that
What?
aren't cross
Microsoft
compatible.
and shenanigans? Come on.
Not naughty
Microsoft?
shenanigans, just like, hey, this will make your life easier and also completely not portable anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we've stored random project configurations in some random home directory that won't actually go with the repository. So anyone else who downloads it will have to do that manually. Anyway,
Oh.
I'm gonna cut the meeting short. If anyone has closing, because we've run over. If anyone has any
Yes,
closing
just to
things to say.
quickly answer one question from Equinox, I assume that's supposed to be advanced. We're discussing this because we do have developers, we just don't have anywhere near as many as we want. But if we have a clearer idea of where we're going with this, we can recruit people more rapidly as well as more targeted. Like, we need people who can use this, this, and this library and understand how to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Because part of the problem has been trying to figure out what we need in the first place.
Also the other point about VR. VR would be great. I'd love to have the mod work in VR. That's up to the F4MP devs to support it though, and I don't think they support VR at the moment. Plus animations. Oh god, animations. How would we even track the animations of a player? It would be an entirely new thing to take a look at. But yeah, so don't expect VR anytime soon. Or even if it would be fun. All right, okay.
Wait a minute. The F4SC people do support VR.
Do they?
I just wonder. Yeah.
Which
sc.silverlock.org. Let me have a look. Oh yeah, they do. Okay, I thought they didn't.
Also,
Well,
yes,
there
we
was a
do
time
have
when they
someone
didn't.
to reverse engineer the game. That's primarily Blipvert. And you said you may have someone else on hand now. Would that be you?
yeah, me.
Okay. So we were obviously discussing the thing, but I wasn't entirely clear if you were more expecting to do general dev or specifically targeting the reverse engineering side of it. So I thought there might have been someone else as well.
Yeah, there's quite a bit that I'm going to be involved in. So yeah.
That's good.
Oh,
Just
I don't
make
expect a
sure
lot
to remind any other obligations and let us know ahead of time if you're not going to be available, so that we're
Oh,
not putting
sure.
too much pressure on you.
Yeah.
Just because we
for
don't
sure.
want to overwork you, burn you out, and then you just like, no, I'm sorry, I have to deal with other shit now. I
No,
can't keep up with this.
no, that won't happen. I'm good about letting people know. And as Genetical knows, essentially a lot of stuff with my business's software, suddenly we made a lot of headway that was unexpected. So I have more time for this. And also, when it all launches, luckily we have a lot of people waiting for it, and it'll bring in quite a bit of money. And I plan on, helping fund this as well. So long as that goes ideally, right? So
Fair enough.
Well, all our money is managed through an open collective, so which
Every
actually
penny can
restricts the
be
way
seen.
we can use it. So every single penny we spend is publicly shown. So there's no, can't really embezzle funds from it. So
I'm not worried about that, man.
no, I know.
Yeah.
But
Also
yeah,
means no Bethesda-related shenanigans if that did come up.
yeah, actually, well, the money they've got is protected by their lawyers and all of that, and so
Yeah.
it'd be fairly difficult for I mean, if Bethesda sends us a cease and desist, I mean, I can't afford to go to court.
Mhm.
So yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen.
I don't see I don't see that happening, man. Seriously.
I
The
think they'd have to
single
prove it, and
biggest
plus,
annoying
I
bit of
think
copyright law is the reverse engineering side of it. It's like
yeah, that's
sort of-
kind of TOS,
so-
but the reverse, we're not hosting any of the reverse engineered code, and
well,
I'm fairly
the
certain there's a
agreement
clause
specifically
stating that.
says that you can reverse engineer to the extent that you're creating a modification for the game,
Yeah,
which we are.
And it's not
So-
like we're not even uploading reverse engineered code. I mean, there's plenty of GitHub repositories which have uploaded some reverse engineered code, but we don't really need to do that. All we're gonna do is, like, the worst thing would be like function signatures, which we'd be using inside the code. But I mean, that's a very grey area. So anyway, again, any closing statements very quickly?
No, I'm good. Anything else can be discussed in general, the dev chat and all that.
All right then. Okay. Well,
If
productive
anyone
meeting
has
then,
any questions, feel free to join the Discord and throw them
let
over
me
there.
post an invite
If you
to
want
Discord.
if you just do the link to the website, that has all of our social media, including library, which if you can get me a copy of this stream, I'll upload that there so that more people can see it and have an idea of what's going on.
All right, I've just posted our website and the Discord invite on the in the live chat. All right, okay. I will call the meeting here then, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks.
Sure.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
you'll see us a lot sooner than
Well, yeah, I mean, like,
Right.
we're
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah.